Okay, so I'm Letitia, compulsive eater.
Hi, Letitia.
And it's an honor, it's an opportunity, it's a privilege to be asked to speak. No one asked me to speak when I was in the food and out in the world at the different fast foods. I shared before, it's different because the tape thing, but I'm just going to share my story. It is what it is. I hope you get something out of it. Okay, so I've been in the program 2 and 11 months. 11 months. It'll be 3 years, April 26th. And on actually March 11th or so is when I found the program. And I was at my wit's end, literally, and it's a little gory, so I won't be that detailed, but I had struggled. I came from another program, and I'd lost, my pictures. My top weight was 325 pounds, and it runs in the family. So this first picture is me and my mother. I was quite depressed, and she says, "Come on, let's go take a picture." I wasn't always, I know, I love you, let's take a picture. What? So I took a picture, I wasn't thrilled. The second picture is me. I wasn't heavy all my life. It was the end of college and the start of medical school where I started realizing I was a compulsive eater because I couldn't stop. And the third picture is me at my heaviest with a bottle in my purse, sitting at a restaurant because they thought I had a hormone problem because I had gained so much weight and so fast, and so I had a 24-hour urine bottle in my purse, and I was supposed to collect my urine for 24 hours. And so that's the third picture you'll see at a restaurant table. And the fourth one, I couldn't put my arms down, and so my mother and I used to rip sheets and strips, and I would grab one side and the other hand and pull it up and wipe, and that's the way I did my hygiene because I couldn't reach my butt. Thank you very much. No. I got a kick out of this. Okay, so that's how I wiped, right? Okay, and the next one is picture of me and my 2 nephews, and the last one is me thinking I was cute. And nobody ever told me I was heavy. Even when I couldn't write, when I couldn't walk. I worked in a hospital, and my mother, everybody said, "You have curves," and nobody ever told me I was heavy. And maybe in the black community, it's different because they think I'm too skinny and I think I could still go down. Anyway, so those are my pictures. So I was raised overseas on islands, Guam, Japan, and Hawaii. And so 8 years in Guam, I kind of took on the Guamanian culture. But my dad was in the Navy, so we eventually got back to the States when I was 15. And he promised we could go to high school in the United States. So I came back from these islands and hit the city and LA, and I had to go to high school here, and it was a real weird experience. And all the guys, we were like the new kids on the block, and the girls were jealous, and the guys were curious. So my sister and I had these ponytails. The guys used to pull our ponytails, and the girls used to glare us down. And my sister learned fast how to catch into the city, and she would say things like, "Take a picture to last longer." And I was like, yeah. And I was always behind her and stuff like that. So I found my niche in education. I found my niche in hanging out in the library for recess and being in the advanced placement classes and hanging out with those folks. But I also found I was athletic, so I became a cheerleader. So I was a cheerleader in high school, always my mother's bubbly whatever, and kind of revved up. And I kind of revved up with her. And so my family's just wild. And everybody talks loud, everybody is loud, and I get loud at work and I have to tone myself down. So what it was like was I gained weight in medical school. And all I could do, I was scared to exercise. So coming from cheerleading and running track, I just ate, and I always ate the same thing. So I read this book, Help Lord, Satan Wants Me Fat. And there's somebody here, after I said that was like 40 years ago. I'm 57. And so that was like 40 years ago. And she read this book too. And in this book it said, because I came from Christianity and a strong fundamental tambourine tapping, shouting background. So it said, Help Lord, Satan Wants Me Fat, told you to fast. Fast and pray. So you fast for 10 days and then you pray during that time. So I fasted for 10 days and I had a little spoonful of some sweetener and that was it. Well, I'm out on the track running and I fainted. And I had already thrown my meal card away for the college and I didn't want to eat. And I threw that away a couple times. So for a while I was anorexic because of this book, and I did it probably 2 or 3 times. And but that didn't last long. I liked the food too much. But it was kind of fun not eating to me, and I thought, but that one wasn't for me. I tried to learn how to do the bulimic thing because all the girls in college were doing that. That wasn't for me. So I just ate, and I would stay in the cafeteria at the college through a couple of generations, I say, because it's open. You don't know who came in first or who came in just now or who's been there for 2 hours in the cafeteria, and you could just keep eating. So I gained. In medical school, it was scary. No one in my family was educated, and so I was like put on this pedestal, and you're smart. I was the one that read in the movies. When the light came on, I would read. And I don't know where it came from, whatever, but I was the one pushed ahead to be on this pedestal. And so I was in medical school. And I had a bone box and a microscope, and I was crying. It was raining. I was in D.C., had to throw my arm out there, and I didn't know how to catch a taxi. And, I'm from the island, so I was throwing my hand out there, and I would, but I had to get back to my apartment because the next day I had a test. And so I ate. I made big pots of stuff, rice, big pots of stuff, all kind of pots. And I would eat bowls of it out of a pot. I ate out of pots. And I gained weight from pots of stuff. And so anyway, the only other story I remember in medical school was we had this cadaver and we had to cut. I'm the short one. There's all these tall guys from long lines of doctors. And I pulled my scalpel out because I couldn't see anything. We had a test coming up. And I said, I'm going to cut something today. It's going to be this cadaver or it's going to be you. And I meant it. I don't know if I would just got a coat pocket or something, but I was going to cut something. And so they kind of parted the ways. I got to see the nerves and everything, so I was cool. So I got through medical school, gained 100 pounds there. Residency came, gained another 80 there. I found OA, had a gastric bypass in 97. I lost 80, gained 60. I got out of the 300s and I never made it back to the 300s. But I gained weight back to like 290 or so. And then I had all these scar tissue. So I've had a lot of surgeries. I have a lot of medical problems because of it. Bowel obstructions, constipation. I just got out of the hospital. I guess about 3 months ago, I had to change my sponsor with someone that was appropriate for the food needs I had to do. And so I had to go on clear liquids for a while because my bowel wasn't working. And so they tell me every 5 years, because if you had the old school bypass, it's called the long limb Roux-en-Y. I have this limb that gets irritated and it develops scar tissue. So it's a nightmare at times. I was on a ventilator. I couldn't breathe. I I've just had my share. I have mood swings, and I suffer with ups and downs, and they're pretty much medicated, so that's good. But between the hospitals and all, I was suicidal before I came in here. I had just come out of a 4-year eating disorder program, 4 months, felt like 4 years, where they told me my program of CHAL was too black and white, so I had to eat. And when they sat these triangle things in front of me, I cried like a baby. And I proceeded to gain 40 pounds. Vending machines. I paid someone $40 for some food because I knew where all the cigarettes were stashed. And I was on the in-group. And I knew where to find the lighters and the cigarettes because there was a no smoking campus. So I got them to feed me, and I gave them the cigarettes. And that's how I made it 4 months. So 40 pounds heavier, I was very suicidal. I'd been suicidal before because of my ups and downs. I was laying in the bed, and I was trying to figure out how to off myself without my mother feeling responsible. Because mothers, it's devastating to families. I'm in psychiatry, and I've seen devastation from suicides. And I didn't want that on my family. But I was trying to figure out ways, gory details of ways. And I couldn't think of anything, but I was in the bed eating this stacked up thing that you do for weddings from Costco. I stacked it, and I was in the bed with a fork. Someone had mentioned Gray Sheet to me. I pulled the computer over in a moment of clarity. I looked up Gray Sheet, so I know it can be done if you really want it. Just look it up. So in between trying to figure out how to do this, I knew pills didn't work because I'd been to the hospital in the middle of the night to talk to patients because the pills didn't work. I know a lot of things that didn't work. I knew some things that did, but I was kind of worried because they were pretty obvious things that my mother would know. So that being said, I found the first name on the list, which started with an A. She became my sponsor. We went to the refrigerator. She told me, what do you have in there? I didn't have much that was edible, but we found abstinent meals, and I did my first 5 days before my first meeting. And I was just desperate. I was desperate, and I was done. And I didn't want to die, literally die. So that was what it was like. That's what happened to change me. What it's like now is a life beyond my wildest dreams. And so I lost 97 pounds in the first year here. And so my heaviest here, I think I came in at 226. And I mean, I couldn't keep it off, and I was steady eating. And I liked my exotic foods. I knew how to make those, and I still was making my pots of stuff. So I came in and got abstinent, learned how to weigh and measure. I always cooked, so that was easy. But working 10-hour days in a hospital and trying to measure and weigh and measure and all that was hard. So now I feel blessed. I have some help, but I do my final weighing and measuring. But everything is packed for the week. I write my food out for the week, and I love, love, love my food. I've always loved weird stuff, so I love my food. I've gotten answers from people around here on what to make. If it wasn't for the food being good and interesting, I would not still be here. I love my meals. Today I sat out beside my front porch in the cold with a hood on and house coat, looking crackhead regular. Forget the men I dated. I didn't even go into that. In my dismanageability, I dated a cocaine addict, an alcoholic, and I've never been married, no kids, and I'm dating now. So that was a new one. I have a date after the meeting for a restaurant. I'm learning how to eat in restaurants. And I cry at restaurants when I have to measure stuff. We all go out, we've been out together, and I was the one that was the shaky one and crying because I didn't know how to do it. And it's still scary, but I know how to bring heavier vegetables and add it to something and use a bowl. And if they accept my scale, then love my scale. And that's like my first kind of test. So I'm meeting someone for the first time, and I'm bringing my scale, and I'm suiting up and showing up, and it just is what it is. And I've learned how to love me. I'm doing some mirror work, it's called, with Louise Hay. But my spirituality has changed. I pray and meditate, and my mother has a hard time with my newfound spirituality, and it's not culturally acceptable. She said, I'd rather you tell me you were gay or something than to tell me you are that. Now, there's nothing wrong with that one either, but for her, that would be the ultimate. So my mother cries for my salvation, and she tells me I'm going to hell, and she's a fundamental gospel singer, and she has a shrill voice, and it's hard dealing with my family. Okay, so a little bit more of what it's like. I'm dating, and I'm picking and choosing this time because I didn't get to pick and choose before. And I feel good about myself. I look in the mirror every morning and say, you know, Letitia, I love you. I don't look at people all the time, but so I'm practicing looking in the mirror. I love you, Letitia. I really, really love you. And I'm learning to like you and let go of the past. And there's this one where you look in the mirror, you push it forward, you take the old tapes out, and you learn how to put new tapes in. So the new tapes are, you do deserve to have a mate, whereas before it wasn't because my mother wouldn't approve. I never. You do deserve happiness. I moved, I sold this house. It was like a family house. I'm renting a little cottage kind of house for just me and my dog, and it's great. I like my candles, I like my stones, and I like the church I found. And I love everything about that. So I love me. I lost my best friend in the whole world yesterday and cried like a baby all day long yesterday. You would never think me sitting here feeling happy. I cried like a baby, groveling, trying to figure out who to call because I didn't want, it's a male, and he did all the traveling with me, everything. And it got a little heated, and I didn't want to give my body away because I loved me, and he wasn't the one for me, and it was just getting to that point, and I was having to fight that off, and had given in years ago and decided this wasn't for me. This is my best friend, and it's much older, and you know, this is not what I want for my life. So I kept saying no, and I kept saying no, and I didn't know how to end it or whatever. And so I'm learning relationships now. So yesterday he said, I think we need to stop seeing each other. Like we're seeing each other, right? He's my friend, my best friend. And I was shocked, but inside I knew that needed to happen for me to move forward. And I accepted that. And I'm trying to be dignified about it and still know that I'm a lovable person, that I deserve love, and I weigh and measure my food. And so I weigh and measure my food. I committed to a sponsor. I don't eat in between meals. And I do what you guys do. And I never thought that I could not eat in between meals and feel dignified enough to take care of myself and believe what I want to believe spiritually, and say no when I don't want to do something with my body because it's my body. And that, you know, kind of chokes me up because all the other years, me and men, you want to take it. I was the mealy mouth. I was quiet. I had my abuse issues from the past. And so that was what I learned, how to just, if a man wants you, you whatever. And now I say, no, this is my body. I'm not married to you. I don't know what marriage is like. I plan to find out. But I hear that even in that, if you want to say, no, you can't, I don't know. But, so life is good. And that's all I'm saying. Thank you for letting me share.